A New York attorney representing a wealthy art collector called his client and said to him, "David, I have some good news and I have some bad news." The art collector replied, "I've had an awful day, let's hear the good news first." The attorney said, "Well, I met with your wife today and she informed me that she invested $5,000 in 2 pictures that she thinks will bring a minimum of $20 million. I think she could be right." David replied enthusiastically, "Well done. My wife is a brilliant businesswoman. You've just made my day. Now I know I can handle the bad news. What is it?" The attorney replied, "The pictures are of you with your secretary." A farmer buys a young rooster to replace his old one. The young rooster struts in and says, "All these hens are mine now, old man." The old rooster smirks. "Maybe so, but tradition says the new rooster must prove himself. We wrestle and whoever mounts the other in a compromising way wins. The winner takes the hens." The young rooster laughs. "Easy." They lock up in the dirt. The old rooster pretends to struggle, then lets the young one flip him and mount him. Just then, the farmer walks out, sees the young rooster on top, shakes his head, raises his shotgun and fires. "Damn," he mutters, "that Sip's the 3rd gay rooster I've bought this year." An older gentleman man driving an old beat-up truck gets into a fender bender with CEO's Ferrari. The CEO gets out of the car, examines the damage, and decides to bully the old man. "Hey, old geezer, that damage is gonna cost $50K to fix. Either you give me the money or I'll beat the shit out of you." The old man apologizes. "I'm so sorry, sir, but I don't have that kind of money. But I'll tell you what, let me call my son. He may be able to help me out. He trains dolphins." The old man calls his son and explains the situation, then hands the phone to the CEO. "Your father ran into my new Ferrari, and if he doesn't give me the money to fix it, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him," said the CEO. "Please don't do that. I'll be there in 10 minutes, replied the son. 10 minutes later, 2 military vehicles pulled up. 6 large guys came out of them and beat the shit out of the CEO. The son goes to his dad and says, "Dad, I don't train dolphins, I train SEALs, Navy SEALs." There's a traveling salesman who loves to play poker. Every town he visits, he tries to find a game. One night he's led to the back of a saloon, and seated among the locals is a German shepherd. The salesman is surprised to see a dog at a poker table, but the dog appears to be very well behaved, so the guy sits down to play. Well, after a couple of hours, the salesman and the dog are in a showdown. The salesman raises, the dog raises back, the salesman raises again, and the dog calls. The salesman shows his hand, 3 queens. The dog turns over his hand, a flush. The salesman is so impressed, he isn't even mad that he lost the hand. "You know," he says to one of the locals, "not only can that dog play, but he's really pretty good." "I guess he plays okay," says the local, "but we usually beat him." "Is that right?" says the salesman. "Yeah," says the local. "Whenever he has a good hand, he wags his tail." A guy was driving too fast down the interstate when a motorcycle cop that was hiding behind a bridge pulls him over. "What's your hurry?" asks the cop. "Driver says I'm late for work. What do you do for a living?" asks the cop. "Man says I'm a rectum stretcher." "What kid of a job is that?" asks the cop. "Well," says the man, "you lube up 2 fingers and put them in a rectum. Then you stretch it until you can get 4 fingers inside. Then you stretch it until you get both hands inside. Then stretch it until you get both arms inside. Then stretch it until it's 6 feet wide. What do you do with a 6-foot asshole?" asks the cop. "Man says you give him a radar gun and hide him behind a bridge." A little boy wants his toy, so he walks up to his mother and says, "Mom, give me my toy." His mother responds by saying, "What are the magic words?" So the little boy says the magic words and his mom gives him his toy. The next day, the little boy starts kindergarten. At snack time, the little boy wants some juice. So he walks up to his teacher and asks for a juice box. The teacher says, "What are the magic words?" So the little boy says the magic words. But the teacher gets upset and calls the little boy's mother and asks her to come in. When the 3 of them are sitting in the room together, the teacher asks the mother, "Have you been teaching your son sarcasm?" "No," the mother says. "Why? What did he do?" "Well, he asked for a juice box," said the teacher. "And I asked him to say the magic words, and instead of saying please, he said, 'You're thin and you're beautiful.'" After a long illness, a woman dies. She finds herself at the Golden Gate, heartbroken to have left her husband behind. St. Peter notices and informs her it will be many years before his time. She sadly agrees to enter heaven alone. Decades later, St. Peter asks her to fill in for him at the gate for the day. Lo and behold, her husband arrives. She cries over him, "Oh, darling, I hope you didn't suffer the rest of your life grieving over me." "Far from it," he replies. "Turns out your beautiful young nurse had the hots for me, so we quickly married, then she came into an inheritance, and we traveled the world and retired on the Riviera. But it's nice to see you. How do I get in?" "Well, there's a spelling test." "Okay, what's the word Czechoslovakia?" A man in an Ohio Walmart this morning tries to buy half a cauliflower. The young assistant tells him they only sell whole cauliflowers. The man persists and asks to see the manager. The boy says he will ask his manager about it. Walking into the back room, the boy said to his manager, "Some shit for brains out there wants to buy half a cauliflower." As he finished his sentence, he turned to find the man standing right behind him, so he quickly added, "And this gentleman has kindly offered to buy the other half." The manager approved the deal, and the man went on his way. Later, the manager said to the boy, "I was impressed with the way you got yourself out of that situation. We like people who think on their feet here." "Where are you from, son?" "California, sir," the boy replied. "Well, why did you leave California?" the manager asked. The boy said, "Sir, there is nothing but porn stars and cheerleaders up there." "Really?" said the manager. "My wife is from California." "You are kidding?" replied the boy. "Who did she cheer for?" A married couple was in a terrible accident, and the husband's face was severely burned. The doctor told him they could not graft any skin from his own body because he was too skinny. His wife lovingly offered to donate some of her own skin. However, the only suitable area was from her buttocks, a rather delicate matter. They both agreed to keep it a secret, and the doctor promised not to say a word. After the surgery, everyone was amazed by the man's transformation. He looked more handsome than ever. Friends and family could not stop complimenting his fresh, youthful face. One day, deeply moved, he said to his wife, "Dear, I just want to thank you for everything you did for me. How can I ever repay you?" She smiled and replied, "My love, I get all the thanks I need every time I see your mother kiss you on the cheek." A greedy old businessman was dying, so he called his priest, his lawyer, and his accountant to his bedside. "They say you can't take it with you, but I am certainly going to try," wheezed the businessman. "When I die, I want each of you to take 1/3 of my money and throw it into my grave as they are burying me." The three started to protest, but the businessman stated, "It's my money and I will do what I want with it." The three reluctantly agree. A few days later, the man dies. At his funeral, the priest, the lawyer, and the accountant do as directed and each throw in a bag of money into the grave just as the coffin is being buried. After the funeral, they start talking as they walk back to their cars. "I have a confession to make," says the priest. "When I thought of all the poor that could be helped by that man's money, I decided to take a portion of it and donate it to the orphanage." "As long as we are confessing," says the lawyer, "I need an oceanside vacation home, so I too took a handful of that geezer's cash to use as a down payment." "Gentlemen, I am ashamed of both of you," replies the accountant. "I will have you know that I threw in a check for the full amount.